pjnet.tv. It is 9:30 here on the East Coast, and it is time for Del Didway, and we are running our bumper, and we have a background ready. We are recording, streaming to 9 social media destinations. Chat room waiting. We'll switch to Studio 8 in 5, 4, 3, 2. Well, good evening. Welcome back to pjnet.tv. I am Coach Prasick, and it is an honor and a thrill to sit here Monday through Thursday night and visit with not only you all, not only the people in the chat room, but we have great people to come share with us. And every Tuesday at this time, Del Didway comes our way. There you go. Del Didway comes our way. And I'm going to bring Del right up so that I can, I just kind of inhaled some coffee or something. So Del blogs at deldidway.com. And I'll put that on the screen because if you attempt to spell that phonetically, you will probably get page not found, something like that. Del Didway, that's French, right?
It is. In French, it's pronounced Duduit. And in Southern Ohio lingo, it's pronounced Didway, but in the French, it's Duduit. So there you go.
You're the world's most interesting man. I found your blog rather captivating this week on 2 fronts. First of all, for having been so near to Alabama, I mean, it's only a few miles away. I didn't know about the trees. And I was outraged.
Yeah, that happened at Auburn. So you need to buy the book when it comes out next week, and you can
Why don't you just tell me about it and save me the money?
That was in the Auburn Believer, one of the chapters in that book. So, yeah, very intriguing story. How hateful people can be, and just how destructive they can be for no real good reason. So,
yeah, that was the funny thing, because I immediately began to reflect, how our angst and anger. And some of it is righteous, I mean, we go to war for righteous causes, or at least presumably. But over a football team, really? And the only, wars are fought for conquest. You could invade somewhere, take over, and get their stuff, and you get the spoils of victory. To the victor goes the spoils. Here's a case of just outright meanness.
Yeah, I think it's a case where people take sports a little bit too far, too serious a lot of times, and fans get so built up. This person obviously was very bored with their life to have no other reason to live than to go out and destroy trees that were a mainstay on a campus. And I'm not a proponent of Auburn or Alabama, but just looking at it from an objective standpoint, these trees to these people were there. Those oak trees were for years and decades there, and it was a gathering place, and the 2 big oak trees, and it was a symbol. People would have the pep rallies there every time, and decorate it when they won, and just celebrate, and people would gather there. And then some, Mr. Updike in 2011 just poisoned them, and the trees ended up dying, and he ended up facing a hefty fine and going to jail just because of his sheer hatred and stupidity. And I see some stupid things in sports. I was at a Cleveland Browns football game one year on Thursday night football, and they were playing Buffalo, and before the game started, these 2 I won't say fans, these 2 young idiots walked over to this elderly gentleman who was sitting there with his Bills jacket on. He was probably in his 70s. And just dumped a beer on him, just poured beer over his head because he was a Bills fan. A fist fight ensued, and the young gentleman who instigated the entire thing was cuffed and hauled off to jail, as he should have been. There's never any reason for that, but just to destroy, 2 monumental oak trees, just out of just pure hatred and meanness, is just Stupid. That's all it is. It's stupid. There's no justification for it.
What kind of heart would that type of behavior spring out of? I mean, I'm interested to know what was in this guy's past. Was he raised in the church? I don't know. Was his potty training? Did he have a bad experience potty training? Maybe he was given trophies for losing.
No idea, what happened with him, but he may have been raised perfectly.
Might have been.
He might have been. So I have no idea. So he was just one of these folks who takes sports a little bit too serious and goes to the extreme to where he wants to destroy something that means something to other people because he's a fan of one team and supports one team. So, this was, I would say recent. That was back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the university tried their best to restore them, and then those trees were set on fire. Those trees were destroyed. So, they're obviously, not tree lovers. So they took it upon themselves to damage property that didn't belong to them and something that people really cherished. So that's what sometimes sports does.
Odd. It's only a tree, right? But
Yes.
I think the point of your blog is that objects that are otherwise meaningless can take on significance to the person that owns them. I've been involved in disaster relief where we have to clean out, the rubbish. And you start taking stuff out, and boy, the owner comes, oh, don't take that, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
Well, if you walk through my house, I showed a couple of pictures of some of the stuff that means something to me around here and to my wife, and so I like those. Those mean something to me. That's why I have them on my walls. That's why I have them in prominent places, because I like them. They mean something to me, and it kind of, it's my, as I call it, my office is like my little fortress of solitude. I come in here to relax, and I sometimes will ponder at things and look up at things, and there's great memories there. I mean, I have pictures. I'm looking at one right now with my son when we were down in Florida at Yankee spring training, and playing golf together and things like that. So those things mean a lot to me, but to you, no, they won't. But they are good conversation pieces when people come here.
Well, and how much do we get wrapped up in the object or the artifact versus the meaning behind it? And I think this is where if we're going to take a dive a little deeper, there are monuments and statues being torn down today. Now, the statue, the material, the object, it's bad enough that you would destroy anything that doesn't belong. If you own it, if you want to destroy it, that's called the right of disposition. But to destroy something that isn't your own springs from a heart that I think is deeply, evil. But when you think about the legacy, basically you have a man, a movement, and a monument. Anytime a monument is erected, it represents something. It's not just a stone. When you go to a cemetery, those aren't just stones. Those are markers of a life lived and the memories thereof. It's important to preserve those legacies.
Yeah, whether they're good or bad. I mean, they're built there for a reason. History's there for a reason. And fascism and socialism teaches if you want to go to the future, you have to destroy your past. So that's what they're trying to do. And anybody who's in favor of any monument coming down, whether I agree with that person or not, the only reason they want to take those down is to destroy and erase history so they can start anew. And anyone who is in favor of tearing down statues, they are fascist socialist. And that's just what they are. They are destructive socialists.
Two things come to mind, Dale. Auschwitz still stands.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
To remind us of what happened there, so it won't happen again.
To sear it into our souls.
Yeah.
Because it could happen again. And I remember so well when Osama bin Laden was killed. He was, before his body was cold, they buried him at sea. And he is now the stuff that lobsters and crabs make their meal of. The reason that was done is so that he could not be enshrined and memorialized.
Right, and of course they ripped down his statue, which was appropriate in that case because I think folks who build their legacy on death should not should not be should not be immortalized. But what's happening now across our nation is disgusting, and hopefully it's starting to tamper down a little bit. But you're seeing when people try to go to clean up the monuments that have been spray painted, those people are getting attacked because the generation that's being raised now, they weren't raised properly at all. They weren't raised. The dad probably wasn't around. Either they were, had everything they wanted at their beck and call, or they were neglected because anybody who was raised with any shroud of intelligence or humanity wouldn't be doing this. So this is a fault of the people doing it. Obviously, it's their choice to do it. But somewhere along the way, they were not given any guidance, and the mom and dads who are now my age, who raised these people, are just as much to blame because they're not taking responsibility. If I saw my kid out there on television rioting, I don't want to describe what I'd do to him right here. So
I get it. I get it. The thing that really perplexes me, or not really perplexes me, I fully understand it. They are doing this and claiming the moral high ground is we're tearing down this statue of this person that was a slave owner. Or, and it's funny because I've studied a lot of historical figures and I have found some serious defects in some otherwise very good people. Ben Franklin was a genius. He was smart. He was witty. But he had defects too, Dale. But that cannot detract from the contributions that he made to this republic.
Well, you mentioned one word there. You mentioned one word to describe him, and that was smart, because the people who are doing this have zero intelligence. And there's teachers being arrested. They're being arrested. They're not intelligent people.
And who's been socializing our generation?
Yeah, our kids. Yeah. So education.
You wonder sometimes.
Yeah.
What test did they have to pass?
Well, that's what Lou Holtz said the other day. Of course, everybody knows who Lou Holtz is. I loved what he said the other day when they asked him about whether there will be a football season. And he said, I hope there is, but there probably won't be. And he blamed a lot of it on, he said, the liberal educators don't want to have classes. They don't want to have sports, but we need to have all this stuff. And he put the blame right back on them. The education system is deplorable right now, to use Hillary's term. So it's in a sad state of mind right now because they're indoctrinating our kids with pure hatred and disdain. There was a teacher the other day said to his students that Trump was our president, which is a factual statement, whether you want to accept him or not. When Obama was the president, he was my president, and I didn't claim that, but he was my president.
Well, he's our president.
This teacher said, that Trump is our president, and he was fired because he said Trump was our president. So the education system in our nation is at an all-time disgustingly low level.
If we don't, it's funny because we were talking about this last night, and it is disturbing. And we try to be optimistic here. We try to be inspiring, uplifting, and motivating. And what would it take, in your opinion, for this to wind down, and not just wind down, but reverse? When are we going to get a righteous indignation? When are we going to?
It's going to take a long time because it's taken a long time to tear it down. It started when we started taking corporal punishment out of schools. It started when we took prayer out of schools. So I know two teachers who've been on this show actually, who are scared to death to go to class because of the threats and the abuse they take. So we need to have cops in schools. We need to bring back corporal punishment. We need to bring back punishment at home. We need to stop telling people timeouts don't work. Timeouts do not. What worked with me was when my dad whooped me. You know what? And I think I turned out okay. I didn't claim beat. There was a couple of times I didn't deserve it, but there was probably 40 other times I did, and I got away with it. So it was just, he was making up for lost time. So I'm not in favor of beating at all, but I am in strict favor of discipline and the good old-fashioned thumpings once in a while.
Let me take a detour, because this is important. A lot of us use the words punishment and discipline interchangeably and synonymously. And they are not interchangeable. They are not synonymous. The purpose of discipline is correction. As parents, we have to be very careful when we punish a child. What I like to do is just wait. Just wait 10 minutes even. Do not dish out discipline in anger. Here's the way it was told to me. I remember it well. When you see a well-mannered, well-behaved child, have you ever heard someone say that is a well-punished child? No. They say well-disciplined. See, discipline is the art of self-discipline. Discipline is changing from the inside out, where punishment is from the outside in, and punishment is usually short term. So remember this: a well-disciplined dog can be set to roam free. A less disciplined dog has to be tied up and chained up and caged up. The purpose of discipline is to free us, not to restrain us.
I agree and I disagree. I disagree in the fact that I didn't wait. That was when I was mad and angry, that was the best time for me. I wasn't going to sit back and calm down, because it just wasn't going to happen. I thought, hey, I'm in the moment, I'm in the mood, let's get this over with.
Well, it needs to be dealt with immediately, because, I think everybody should go to, if you have a dog or not, go to dog obedience training school. Because you see, I think all these things that you just enumerated in the failures of upbringing, you would never train a dog that way, and if you did, you'd have a mess. Okay? You set standards. You enforce the standards, and you enforce them fairly and consistently. You can't tell the dog, you can't get onto the dog for jumping up on the couch because neighbors are in the house.
Well, again, yeah, and dogs aren't the ones out destroying monuments right now. It's kids who probably weren't disciplined, probably weren't punished, probably were told it's okay, probably given trophies for nothing,
for losing.
Yeah. So it probably given timeouts, and those things are good at times, but there has to be discipline within the household. Whether that means, I don't mean physical abuse. But I tell you what, I mean, I remember my mom just one time just grabbing for anything she could, and that's, I'm fine. I lived, man. I learned a big lesson. I remember one time I was eating dinner at the table. I don't know, I was maybe 9 or 10 years old, and I belched at the table. And next thing I remember was grabbing the teeth because my dad's hand whacked across my face. And you know what? I never did that again.
Never did that again. In some cultures, it's actually
I know
a good thing.
But. If he would have said, "Now go over there and sit down for a little while, take your time out, don't do that again," I probably would have kept doing it. But when a hand comes across your face and racks your jaw, and you say,
remember.
"Oh," I think he was serious about that.
Yeah, you belched at the table twice, your first and last time. Yeah.
So I think we need discipline back at home, back in the schools, definitely back in the schools. Teachers need to get control of the classes again, and bring prayer back in school, bring the Pledge of Allegiance back in school. Liberals have destroyed our education system, and they have indoctrinated our kids, and we're reaping what we sow now. We have all these kids who've gone through this. This is the generation that came through school without prayer and without discipline, and we're seeing what they're doing.
Even when I was in college and had a liberal professor, they argued against corporal punishment, whipping, spanking, and he said that a lot of times if we just guide them through the logical consequences of their choices, that's punishment enough. Well, I would ask, well, what are the logical consequences that are being brought to bear on these rioters right now? What logical consequences are they suffering?
None. Well, the ones that are being caught, hopefully they will be punished severely. I would love to see the expression on some of these faces if they're sentenced to the maximum 10 years for destroying a monument. I would love to see their smug little faces, their eyes drop open and say, oh, I'm getting 10 years behind prison because I painted something on Thomas Jefferson's memorial. Oh my gosh. I would love to see that because they deserve every bit of it. I would love to see them strung up, and I would, there is no rationale. You can't reason with people. Can you reason with people who will fly planes into a building? No, you can't. You can't reason with them. You can't reason with people who will go and try to burn somebody's house down because they want to. You can't reason with them. They only respect one thing, and that's force.
Brute force. Dale, you bring up an interesting point, because here is the problem. Okay, when you are dealing with someone, as you said, that cannot be reasoned with, the only option is extermination. and that's not what our forefathers fought and died for. We have courts. We have chambers where we debate our laws. They gave us a way to settle our differences short of firing on each other. But it seems like that this generation has rejected that in the name of virtue signaling that whoever owned slaves. I wonder what will happen in the day when abortion is illegal, that some good people who are post-abortive that may be memorialized, if that memorial should be taken down because they had a legal abortion.
If somebody will go that far, but I don't see that happening. I don't see that ever. I hope it does, but I don't see
that
it
assumes
happening.
a level of virtue that's a little bit optimistic. But I don't think they're. It's not that they're uneducated; they're educated wrong. What did Reagan say? It's not that he had a way of saying things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he did.
It's not that. Anyway.
Yeah.
Dell, you have not only Auburn Believer, you've got Bama Believer, both coming out in a week?
Monday. Both come out Monday on the 10th of August. So
how many book signings are you lined up for?
Well, I had some lined up, but none right now. I'll be flying down to Atlanta next Tuesday or next Thursday, I think. Next Thursday. To be on a couple of television shows and television interviews, and I'll be just flying back for the day. But we're trying to make do with what's the hand we're dealt. We had some big things planned there in Alabama, but right now those shows will be on hold. Hopefully, we'll be able to do those again next season, and do a secondary launch. Hopefully, so. But yeah, we're looking forward to Bama Believer, Auburn Believer coming out on the 10th of August. They're out there right now for pre-sale, but. A lot of fun writing those books, and I think it'll be a good rivalry. And I hope nobody destroys these books. So we'll see.
Okay, 40 chapters.
Yeah, each one's 40 days, 40 devotionals in each one. And each chapter is a quick read. It's 900,000 words per chapter, so people can whip one off in 4 or 5 minutes, and hopefully take home a good motivational message and a good spiritual message at the same time. With these, and that's the whole intent, to have a friendly rivalry with these books and launch them together. Yeah, I hope so.
Well, you're walking a tightrope too. Your last book, Michigan Motivations, you described not as a devotional, but rather an inspirational book. How is Auburn Believer and Bama Believer? Is it devotional or more general?
Yeah, they are devotional. The Michigan Motivations does not have verses, Bible verses in it. It's basically a devotional without verses, without scripture. More inspirational quotes, more motivational quotes in those. But Auburn and Bama follow the guidelines or the same patterns like Buckeye Believer and Bengal Believer. They open with a verse. There's a moment, and there's another verse, and then a little a little life situation, and then a call to action. So,
You've got this down, don't you?
well,
You've done it before.
a few times. So we're excited about it. We think the covers look awesome. I mean, Iron Street Media and Duduit Publishers did a fantastic job with those covers. They jump out at you just like Michigan Motivations does. It just stands out, and so I know they're doing a good job getting it into stores. And if the stores are open right now, so
We are in very uncertain times, sir.
yeah, we just got an email today that the Indy 500 will run
Okay.
without fans, which is really just so asinine. It's just just wrong. It's wrong. We got to get back to living. We have to get back to life. We can't hide in a cave forever. And if it's not, it's here now. It's fine. I don't know anything else that's going on. That's the only thing we got today. That the greatest spectacle in racing, the greatest sporting event I've ever been to, compared to all of them, and I've been to most major
That was
events.
half a million, wasn't it?
It's a lot of people go to that thing. That's inside. So, and outside, you've got a whole bunch more people, and just the businesses who depend on that month, and the restaurants, and the
If you get half a million people somewhere, money's going to get spent.
There's more than half a million people in that oval. I guarantee they run. It seats, I think 400,000 seats, and then all the people in the infield. You're looking at about 700,000 people at that place just for that one day, and that's just for the race. Now there's time trials and there's everything else that's very well attended.
I used to go to the time trials every year. Mm-hmm.
So to run that race without fans is just, I don't even know whether I want to go or not. So we'll have to wait and see.
Let me tell you an opportunity. Random thought, but I slow down and I look. I go when I go to work on the weekends. About a year ago, this huge theater got erected. I mean, it's oh gosh. And I looked at that building and I thought, whoever spent those millions or borrowed those millions to build that could not have picked a worse time. Mm-hmm. But as Zig Ziglar would say, or no, not Norman Vincent Peale would say, with every adversity comes the seeds of equal or even greater opportunity. And I just got this vision, this thing will end, hopefully. And I thought, I'm going to go to our Association of Baptist Churches and say, let's buy that building. Because you could have 4 church services going on concurrently. The sound system is already there. What an opportunity. The last time we had an opportunity like this for the expansion of church planting was in the real estate disaster of 2008, 9, and 10, when you could buy things for a song. Folks, there are many businesses that are closing, but those businesses that close, those buildings will not stand empty forever. The day will come when those buildings will be bought and will be repurposed. Look around you, folks, and have a kingdom mindset. There's a Greyhound racing. This Monticello, Florida it was the place. It was the destination. It was an industry that the dogs, they raced them during the summer. Now, let's not go down the gambling detour, okay? I want to tell you, that racetrack provided employment for young people. That racetrack provided employment for teachers who were off during the summer and no paychecks. The owner of that facility was one of the most generous. He had quite a bit of money, and he invested the profit of that enterprise. But it has stood empty for 2 years. Not 2 years, 10 years. And when I drive by it, I look at that beautiful facility and think, and I can just see the bands performing and the truss and the lasers and the sound. And folks, it's bad, but look at it through a different lens. There's opportunities out there.
The opportunities will be right after the election, whether Trump wins, when Trump wins, this thing probably will go away, because the only reason it's out there is the liberal left
Yeah.
is using it to destroy
Right.
our nation,
It's really
to
not
destroy our
there.
economy. It's there, but I mean, it's again, it's a serious thing. Obviously, being in the healthcare industry, it's very serious. But the odds are, even if you get it, the odds are pretty good. You're gonna survive it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's only being used for one reason, to destroy the economy, so you get Trump out. And that is,
It's,
if anybody else thinks any other reason, then you need to get your head out of the sand, because that's the only reason it's out there.
Yeah, I was going to say somewhere else, but anyway, yeah, it's Dell. By the time we get together next week, your books will be officially launched, and Dell, I know that we wish you well. Whatever happens, you have got a good thing going, and you, like many of us, are just having to batten down the hatches, and we're going to ride this storm out. But I'll tell you this. You've always been there for PJNet, and we want to be there for you. And folks, if you have the opportunity to share about Dell's book, because the stores ain't gonna do it as well as they used to.
Yeah, not for a while. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. We know Michigan Motivation is off to a really good start, and we know some big orders have come in. So hopefully down there with Bama, with if they don't have football, then they can read about it. That's how we're looking.
Well, football has meant so much in my own life, and I hate to see what has happened. And but we're going to make the best of a bad situation, Dell. And if anybody can lead us through these times, it is you and the likes of you that will do it. And how's Sophie doing?
She's doing awesome. Both Carrie and kids are doing great, and we're going to go see them Friday, and we're going to have a good time with them. We always spend Fridays with them and take them for ice cream and have all kinds of good stuff with them. So doing great.
Take some time to be that granddad. You got 2 books out there.
Yeah, well, yeah. I post pictures every Friday when we take them to get ice cream at Dairy Queen and eat my hot dogs and stuff like that. So it's good.
All right, Dale. Well, go cover the race that maybe the press will be invited.
I don't know whether we'll be allowed. I don't know yet. I'll find out next week. I'll find out next week.
Let us know.
They're being very select. I think right now, like Cincinnati Reds games and Indian games, they're being very selective with that. It used to be you can just anybody go in there.
So it's not like there's not room for them.
I don't want to go. I don't want to go watch the Reds right now. Anybody who the whole team kneels, I don't care for them.
No. Oh, I meant the race. I thought you said.
Oh, I know. Race. No, man. Yeah, we'll find out next week as far as media credentials, what they're going to be doing. Okay. I had some friends of mine who were covering some NASCAR, said they were doing interviews by Zoom. If that's the case, I'm not driving for that.
Yeah, you can sit there in your pajamas and do that.
So we'll see.
All right. Well, Dale, always good to hear from you, and appreciate your report. Appreciate your faithfulness, and you are a good team player for the PJNet. You carry the flag well, sir, and we appreciate your dedication and faithfulness. We'll see you about this time next week.
Thanks for everybody for being out there too. So yeah, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Yeah, we'll be. Del Didway right here on PJNet.TV. His books, by the time we see him again, those books will be hot off the presses. Bama Believer, Auburn Believer. I ought to get them. Folks, I'm going to be up late again tonight, and I don't have time. I know that I could belabor this point, but folks, progress is being made. I am not thinking that we're going to be able to launch the podcast platform in the month of August. It might be early September. And the reason I could get it done, but there are some surprises coming that I've not told anyone about. No one. We're going to do this right. We're going to do it right. Folks, it's going to be great. If you see that little green dot on Facebook, that means I'm online. I'm working probably until 4 or 5 this morning. And if you would like to pray, if you would like to share your burdens or your joys or whatever else, it gets kind of lonesome up here. And as busy as I am, I hope I never get so busy that a believer can't feel like they could just hit me up on Facebook and say, Coach, I need to talk to somebody. Be glad to do that. Folks, on my way out, I'm going to ask you 2 questions. I'd like you to ask these questions to yourself. They are very serious. What is the boldest thing that you've ever done for Jesus Christ? That's the first question. The second question is, how long ago was it? Folks, we are in uncertain times, but there is one thing that is very certain, and that is the Word of God. And He has certainly told us to go out and make disciples. So we can never allow ourselves to be satisfied with either answer to those two questions.